the Moors. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Welcome, everyone, to the free astrotheology course. Our textbook is The Devil's Pulpit. Our textbook is The Devil's Pulpit, and the author is the Reverend Robert Taylor. So, those of you who are in the know already know that the Devil's Pulpit is the foremost authority on astrotheology. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off, scholars. We are on page 100. Give me one moment. One of the facts that I actually love about this book is that there's no room for opinion. Absolutely no room for opinion. There's nothing to agree with or to disagree with, right? You can disagree with on the analytical part, but in terms of the presentation of the facts and the evidence, it is what it is. There's nothing to disagree about, okay? Because we're dealing with etymology, radicals, roots and bases, grammar rules, okay? And then, of course, the history. Nothing to disagree with. So this book will help you to identify what your deeply held beliefs are and fears, okay? Because as that cognitive dissonance starts to touch you, starts to creep out of you, and that's a sign that whatever that fact or evidence is that we're dealing with goes against some deeply held belief that you have, which you probably got during childhood, right? During childhood, those formative years where you have no defense, right? You're exposed to environmental stimuli. It could be mom and dad, aunts, uncles, television, music, church, synagogue, mosque, the public school system. When you get taken to kindergarten, or like we used to say, kindergarten, or daycare, okay? And you get exposed to the animal husbandry training. You get exposed how to be fearful, how to do and not think, how to believe and how to not analyze. You get punished and rewarded, right, y'all? Punished and rewarded. You get these Judeo-Christian values, at least when I was in school, indirectly pushed on you. You get taught what's right and wrong. All right? And thus goes the indoctrination. And I was watching House of Reawakening Minds earlier today, and I happened to stumble on a video that they did on what was the topic? The topic was, y'all should check it out. The topic is getting to know yourself. Okay, Noble Drew Ali's words, after you study everything and you should ask him what to study next, he will tell you to study yourself. And so they were explaining what that means to study yourself. And it's the most profound topic and endeavor. And as they mentioned in that video, if they get us to become disconnected from ourselves, our true selves, before we have a chance to defend. Let me say that again. When we are defenseless before we have a chance to defend. That's those formative years when they put you in the public school system. When you go into the daycare system. All right? And they teach Negroes, blacks, and coloreds how to be Negro, blacks, and coloreds. In addition to the Judeo-Christian value system. That's where you get it. And so as I watched that, I was thinking, what came to my mind rather was the Hermetic law of gender. And I thought, wow. So now I'm only giving y'all my perspective. And I'm sure that it's not just my perspective. I'm sure other people have it too. Hold on, let me let that go by. Let me let the machine go. But anyway, y'all should remember that mental gender has nothing to do with sexual gender. And it has everything to do with the role that energy plays. So there's masculine energy and feminine energy. The masculine energy exists outside of the physical fleshly body. And that's our true self. That's the undistorted, boundless, limitless, true you. Remember, y'all, when I was talking about this stuff? And by the way, none of this is mine. I didn't make up any of this stuff. So don't think I'm some type of brilliant person. I'm not. If anything, I'm well-read and experienced. Experienced many cultures, read a lot of books, experienced a lot of things. But I'm no more intelligent than the next person. But anyway, so the masculine mental energy, which is your true self, it's your undistorted image of who you are. That's your self-image without any distortions, without any boundaries, without any limitations. All of those are self-imposed and imposed upon you through your experiences on the earth plane. Okay? So, as I've mentioned before, when you come out of the womb, when you ascend out of the womb into the earth plane, you're perfect. You're perfect in the way that you're supposed to be on this plane. Your self-image is undistorted. You have no bounds. You are boundless. Okay? Your mind is timeless. You have no limitations whatsoever. But through interaction with your parents, siblings, all your kinfolk, community, neighborhood, public school system, daycare, that's when those limitations become acquired by what you accept. So they'll tell you something and then you accept it. You may reject it the first several times, but because it's repetitious over and over, day in and day out, over time, you may begin to accept it. You're just a child. You're just a little baby. You don't know no better, right? Or you may accept it as a way to just end the conversation so they leave you alone. Y'all see what I mean? And now you picked up a distortion in your self-image. You picked up a limitation. And one of the limitations that they imposed upon us that I remember how they used to try to pound into our heads that we don't understand concepts. I remember this from in elementary school. I have a very good memory. I remember all my teachers. I remember things we did. I have a very good memory. But they used to try to pound it in our head that we don't understand concepts. And they would even say it. You know, I remember sometimes when I said something, oh, you don't understand the concept. Right? So you hear that enough times, and what are you thinking? You could think, well, yeah, I don't understand the concept. The teacher said it. The teacher is the authority figure. They're not here to hurt me. See, you are innocent and unaware of the danger that you're in. So you accept the limitation that you don't understand concepts. And then all of a sudden, after 6th grade, or even sooner, you start to fail or perform poorly in school. Another one that they pushed on us was that we're not good in math. Right? We're not good in math. Or we don't know how to sit down and study. Y'all remember that? I'm talking to all the Moors. You want to go outside and play? You don't want to sit in the classroom, right? To learn. But they used to make that into a negative for us. So anyway, all of this, you pick up these limitations as a way of self-defense, as a way of protecting yourself. Now, how does it become a limitation? Well, that's your feminine mental energy. This is the Holy Spirit that is in you. See, in your physical body, you have housed within it physical mental energy. Not physical, but feminine mental energy within your body. If you want to integrate it with your current knowledge base, you can relate it to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is always creating, right? Your body is always changing. That's controlled by your subconscious mind, right? All of the chemical reactions, metabolism, everything, organ function, all of this is created subconsciously or controlled subconsciously by your subconscious mind. What you think from day to day, your habits, your pleasures, your pains, your joys, your aspirations, all of these things are creations of your subconscious mind. So of course we know that it is the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, that is feminine and that creates. And that creates, okay? A lot of Hebrew Israelites recently, or the last couple of years, I've been hearing, liken the Holy Spirit to a woman, right? To a woman that the Most High took out of Himself and imbued it with wisdom, and then used the Holy Spirit to create. That's masculine mental energy, right? That's the seventh. That's the all. All is mind, mentalism. That's the first principle. The other 6 principles were extracted out of the one, right? The other 6 hermetic laws or principles. Y'all see it? So your Holy Spirit is always becoming. Everybody see that? Always becoming, always changing, always creating. Always creating. The feminine creates. On the order of, or through the willpower of the masculine mental energy, which exists outside of the body, which has no bounds, no limitations. Okay? It has no bounds, no limitation, no beginning, no end. The Alpha and the Omega. This is the great I am. Talked about in Scripture. The great I am does not change. The masculine energy does not change. It is, it exists. I be, I exist, I am. Again, let me say it again. I be, I exist. Rendered in English, I am. You can correlate that with Exodus chapter 3. I am that I am. The Most High doesn't change. Y'all see it? So, now, back on the earth plane, your self-image acquires distortions through what's imposed upon you from outside of you. Even your law-breaking mother and father. Your when I mean law, I mean natural law. Your law-breaking mother and father, those people who have guilty consciences, criminal-minded, affected by the hybrids. And then they push that off on you. They push it off on you. What's the mechanism, scholars? You all remember? We're 43 videos deep into the devil's pulpit. So go back, including these videos, go back 60, 70 videos. All right, or the last 20, 30 videos I did, the last 20 or 30 videos I did on the gospel and the Zodiac. And I talked about all of this stuff in detail. But the mechanism of the acceptance is through you having weak, mental, masculine energy. Which is what? Nationality. Nationality. Your masculine, mental, gender energy is weak. You don't know who you is. You don't even much know who you is. Okay, as my mother used to say. All right, you have no knowledge about your nationality, no knowledge about nature. Y'all understand that? You don't even much know who you is. So someone else can impose their stronger masculine mental energy on you. That's right. This is the mechanism of socially engineering a Negro, a colored, a black, a Latino, or whatever brand of Moor you are. Whatever family you come from. That's not for me to say I don't know you. Has nothing to do with your complexion or texture of your hair. It's a matter of whether or not you're sprung from the soil. Whether or not you are thought made manifest. That thought comes from the Hermetic laws, the all. Okay? So there are 7. That's what it deals with. So, that's the mechanism of the oppression. Now you can see why great men like Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, you don't do anything else, declare your nationality. But before you declare your nationality, what do you need to do? You need to learn who you are. Right? So, you need to study what? You need to study your culture, your heritage. Study mythology, religion, study language, study law. Study architecture, study the liberal arts, study the sciences. Okay? Harmonize your life with the Most High's commandments. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Which is honoring your mothers and your fathers. Why? Why should you do that? So that it will go well with you in the land that the Most High, your power, is giving you. In other words, so you'll be able to accept your heritage, your estate, your inheritance, enjoy it as a rightful heir, and then pass it up to the next generation. But in order to do that, you need to break free from religion, which means change your paradigm, change your mindset. The only way to do that is what? Studying yourself. Studying yourself. Who are you? What do you know? The only thing you do know is that you're your mama's son. Like my mother said. My mother used to tell me. She'd say, Mama knows and Daddy suppose. Right, Mama know and Daddy suppose. Well, who is your mother? She's your mother's son with the womb. Well, who was her mother? She was her mother's son with the womb. And you go all the way back through the generations, and there is no beginning, because there never was a time when man was not. And what is law etymologically? And I'm getting this out of The Ruin of Nations. There's a book inserted in that called Natural Law. He gives you the ancient etymological meaning of law. It's the instructions that come down through your bloodline. That's law. How about that? Correlate that with what y'all call in the church the Mosaic Covenant. The instructions that are passed through a family. Well, a family is a nation, right? Bloodline, connected to a landmass, common heritage, which would include language, commerce, culture, knowledge base, the liberal arts and sciences, right, y'all? Everybody see the connectivity here? So when we study ourselves, that means we have to change our paradigm. That's the goal. We have to go from the damaged, distorted self-image and all the lower self behavior, all the pain, all the doubts and disbeliefs, the foes that come along with that. And we have to somehow or another overcome all of those foes, which removes the doubts and the fears, which is equivalent to or the same as removing all the distortions from your self-image until you are here. Your self-image has no distortions, and you, my friend, are now the Christ. You are boundless, limitless. Y'all got it? Your self-image has no distortions. None whatsoever. And that's the goal. That's why you study yourself. Now, I'm just giving y'all my take on it. okay, which is in agreement with and complementary to the discussion that I mentioned to you guys about on House of Reawakening Minds. And I discussed all of this stuff before, but when I heard the video, I thought, well, I want to do it again in that context. But anyway, scholars, that's the goal. That's the goal in life. All right? Go from lower self with that distorted images, face all your foes, overcome your foes, until you realize you come to know your true self, which has no boundaries, no limitations. You become the Christ, the master. Okay, the master of what? The master of the physical plane, just like Christ. Y'all know that there are some people right now who, I'm getting this from the Hermetic laws, and I have my own experiences with this. There are some people who can stop weather events and create weather events. They can make it rain, they can make an earthquake come, they can stop it while it's happening or prevent it from happening. Do you see the power that you have? You can apply that not to just weather events, but to any kind of event. Let me say it again. You can direct that power to any event, not just weather, any event, any enemy, singular and plural. I hope everybody's getting the full weight of what I'm saying here. So we don't need weapons. What we need is to do what? Remove those distortions in your self-image. And then direct that power, direct that energy to create the weather events, to execute justice on the land. Y'all hear me? And who could possibly disagree with that? Right? So that's our power. That's our power. See, we're the rightful heir to all land, commerce, resources, and energies, terrestrial and cosmic. But it's up to you to put yourself in a position to realize it and use it. Y'all hear me? So we're not defenseless. Imagine, y'all, imagine as people abandon religion, return to the Most High by following His commandments, which are nature, natural law. Okay? In religion, y'all call it the Mosaic law. Abandon all of that. Get out of that religious paradigm. Return to nature. Face your foes. Overcome those foes. Realize your strength. Remove the distortions from your self-image. Realize Psalms 82:6, which says, I'm going to paraphrase it, all of you are gods, sons of the Most High. That would be sons with the womb and sons without a womb of the Most High. Masters of nature. Energies to move a mountain. Energies to create or stop a storm. Energies to heal a fleshly body. Energies to execute justice. Through what? Through the mind. Okay? Now, what am I saying to you? What I'm saying to you is this. Masculine mental energy does not exist inside your fleshly body. So when you're operating in your higher self, let me say it again. When you're operating in your higher self, there is no limit to what you can do or who you can affect. So why don't we all do an experiment? Let's use this process. Use this mechanism. Let's just say one person. We use our mind to help them break the bondage, help them break mentally free from religion. See, who can complain about that? That's non-threatening, right? Unless you're the preacher or the pastor or the general. They break mentally free from religion. And let's help break other people free from religion. Help them through the use of our mind, our masculine mental energy, overtaking theirs. Because they don't even much know who they is. Okay? But with intention and persistent practice and with use of the imagination, developing the imagination, it can be done. And the more people who leave religion and return to the Most High, well, what's going to happen? Deuteronomy 30. Deuteronomy 30. See, all we need is that 99th or that 100th monkey phenomena to kick in. And then, boom, the whole entire population will abandon religion and adopt the new behavior, the new paradigm of following the Most High's instructions, keeping the commandments, as y'all say in religion, living harmonic with natural law. That puts us right back in the blessings, Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. It sounds so simple. I hope nobody belittles it because it sounds so simple. But in science, we say that simple things are elegant. And that the more elegant they are, the more truthful, the more real they are. All right? Things in nature are not complicated. Things that men create are complicated. Usually complicated so other people can't understand it, so they hide it by making it complicated, or they just don't know what the hell they're talking about. So it's complicated. It's a sign or an indication that they don't know what they're talking about, or something seriously wrong. Anyway, y'all, let's move on. But keep that in mind. If you want a nation build, if you want us as a people to get out of the oppression that we're under, do what I just suggested. Go back and watch those videos that I did. Well, actually, you can get the what's the name of the book, y'all? The Kabbalion. The Kabbalion. It has the Hermetic laws. You can get it as a PDF for free. You can get it as an audio book for free. Study it. Or you can watch the videos that I've done, that I mentioned earlier, and learn about masculine mental energy, learn about how to learn about the lesser law, transmutation, how to move from one. This is the law of polarity. Learn about how to move from the opposite ends of the poles. So most of you are in dishonor right now, especially if you're in religion. If you're not following natural law, you're in dishonor. If you don't know your nationality, you're in dishonor. If you know your nationality and you're not living according to the instructions of our ancient ancestors, which are natural law, if you were to reduce it down to its lowest common denominator, it would be to do no harm. If that's not your way of life, if you rationalize and make excuses about doing things and they result in harming someone else, then you are in dishonor, right? You're in dishonor. You're going against the Most High's commandments. So, as a matter of fact, let me emphasize that again. Natural law requires that you do no harm. That includes not harming yourself. Okay? It includes not harming yourself. So the mechanism of moving from dishonor to honor, from lower self to higher self, paradigm, mindset, behavior, scholars, is again transmutation. So I talked about this. You can read books of, for example, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and other works by Napoleon Hill, where he talks about transmutation. He also talks about sexual charisma. He doesn't use the word charisma. Sexual something. Basically, you control your sexual desires. So you harness that energy. And then through harnessing it and pursuing some goal, let's say a higher self goal, that's the same thing as directing or using that energy toward achieving that goal. Okay, so transmutation, and then of course, once you get to where you want to be, in terms of your mindset and your behavior, you want to stay there. That involves the law of rhythm. Okay, so the Hermetic law of rhythm, you want to stay there and create that into a habit. That's cosmic habit force. The law of rhythm. Okay, y'all? Of course, vibration and all of that, but y'all go through that yourself. But it's time for us to start. It's time for us to return to the Most High and to live in harmony with nature, and I'm showing you how to do it. Okay? So when you are here in the lower self, when you're in religion, or when you are in poverty, or when you are in any other situation, and you don't know how to get out, and you can't even see yourself being a different person, or not doing that behavior again, well, you need to learn how to use your imagination. So I mentioned to everyone several means by which you can do it. My favorite is the silver method, where you develop your imagination. That's my favorite. It's more powerful than meditation. You need to learn how to breathe properly. Let me say it again, because people overlook that one. You need to learn how and practice how to breathe properly. Why is this? Well, because most of you have been trained, not most of you, all of us have been trained to be in a constant state of anxiety. It's so constant that you're not even aware of it anymore. Y'all hear me? It's your normal to be anxious, to be worried, to be fearful. So your breathing is shallow and rapid in most cases. Most people. Shallow, rapid breathing is extremely unhealthy. But through your conditioning, through your mindset, so you watch something on TV, you watch these policy enforcers beat someone, terminate someone who looks like you. Or you watch whatever it is you're watching on TV, puts you in a state of anxiety and stress. And some of y'all have adjusted and learned how to like it. Really terrible. But some of y'all, that's all y'all want. But my point is this. That type of breathing will shorten your lifespan. So you need to learn how to breathe, practice how to breathe, and then do it through habit on a daily basis. Okay, learn how to oxygenate your body. Okay, and many times oxygenating your body will make you feel better and likely put some ailments to rest, if you know what I'm saying. I can't use the word that I want to use. Y'all heard me? Just through breathing. See, breathing in the Bible is spirit, breath. Put two and two together. Breath is spirit. Huh? Put it together. Silver method. Meditation is good. It has its place. Silver method, I like it because it's not just meditation, relaxing. You know, when you relax your body, you put it in a certain state of relaxation. You give your body the circumstances to begin to heal itself. Okay? So that's meditation. But the silver method is superior to it, in my opinion, because it teaches you how to use your imagination to be creative. Okay, to be creative. That's your quote-unquote God faculty at work. It teaches you how to become, not become, but to use and be a God by creating. Psalms 82:6. Y'all hear me? There's other types of therapies and techniques. Biofeedback is powerful. I know someone that I grew up with who was a drug addict. And they use biofeedback to get off of crack. And y'all know how hard that is for most people. My friend did it in like less than a year. That's unheard of. And my friend got this done at a major hospital. In fact, it's a Cleveland clinic. So you can, I don't know what problems you face in life, but the biofeedback was offered at the Cleveland clinic. Of course, there's hypnosis. There's all kinds of techniques and therapies that you can use. Find one you like most. All right? And then you use that to transmute or to transport yourself out of dishonor, out of lower self, devilish, Kashatan, Satan type of behavior into honorable, higher self behavior until ultimately you become the Christ. You become the master, quote unquote, of the universe. All right? Able to move mountains, able to calm storms, able to heal people. All of this kind of stuff, y'all. Y'all hear me? So from my point of view, looking at study yourself from the Hermetic law point of view, study yourself means everything I just said. Why? Because when you study yourself and you face those fears, you face those foes and those doubts, that's your opportunity to face it, overcome it, and then you know your power. You build confidence. And with each distortion of that self-image that you remove, eventually, you are the great I am. The I beat that never changes. Y'all hear me? Anyway, let's get into our lesson. Let me find our page. What page are we on? I went a little bit long with that, but I think it's very, very important. I hope y'all will use it. Do some research. Start practicing it. Start practicing it. And let me say something else. Y'all know that prayer, well, that's another discussion. Anyway, so we are on page, we're on page 106. Yeah, 106. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, page 106. The last time we did a video, we talked about how the description of Paul is different from the description of the idols, the figure in the artwork. Why? Well, because that figure is the god Pollux, Pollux, which is pole, right? Which is translated or rendered rather as Paul, to hide that from you. To hide the fact that Pollux is Paul. Y'all go back and watch the last video presentation that I did right before this one. Okay? That information is on page 104 and 105. All right? Okay, now let's continue. Page 106, the second paragraph. The cathedral dedicated to the honor of the sun and the star Pollux stands directly in the zenith. Now, the zenith is the highest point in the northern part of space that the sun goes to. Okay? When the star Pollux is at the meridian, the constellation Aries, so we did this, I'll do it again. The constellation Aries, which is the temple, so y'all remember Aries is the temple? The temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, coming from Jeremiah chapter, was it 7? Chapter 7, verse 4. That's Aries, the first constellation. Aries is also Gad, G-A-D. Gad is the first tribe of Judah. Okay, so Aries, which is the temple of the, will be observed rising in the east. So let's say this is east. So we see Aries rising above the horizon in the east when Pollux is at the zenith. Here, y'all. Pollux is at the zenith. All right? All right. So let's continue. The great star, Spica Virginis, in the hand of Themis, the goddess of justice, holding the scales of September, or Ceres, that spells C-E-R-E-S, the goddess of corn, or Miriam. Miriam is Moses' sister, or the Virgin Mary. For they are but different names. For one and the self-same constellation is setting in the west. So Aries is rising in the east, and Virgo is setting in the west. All right? So if it's rising, that's relative to the horizon, right? So Aries is rising above the horizon in the east. Virgo is setting or falling toward the horizon in the west. And then at the zenith, there's the star Pollux. All right, y'all? Get that visual image in your head. So the Spica Virginis is being held in the hand, okay, of Themis. So these are all different names for Virgo. Themis, Miriam, Virgo, Mary, all right? Also notice, y'all, it says in the hand of Themis, the goddess of justice. So we're dealing with justice. We're dealing with the temple, Virgo, justice, the scales of justice. We know that in modern astrology to be Libra, right? The scales of Libra. So let's continue. And hence, the twins, Castor and Pollux, that's the constellation, Castor and Pollux, the two twins, two names for one and the self-same constellation, being at that moment that we just talked about, Aries at the east, right, rising in the east, Virgo setting in the west, and Pollux at the zenith. Okay, so being at that moment at the zenith, were worshipped as in a most peculiar sense, presiding over the adjudication of equity. Presiding over the adjudication of equity courts, y'all. Fairness and equity. Y'all see the constitutional principle there? And in all courts of law and justice. This is a very, very important point here. Because this takes us into banking, and religion, and secret societies. The Knights Templars, see temple, y'all, temple, Aries, justice, the Knights Templars, and banking, but we're going to get into that. I'm just giving you the heads up. Now, if Aries is on the horizon, I'm sorry, if Aries is rising, what time of year is it? Is it the vernal equinox? Well, let's keep reading. In the calendar of Julius Caesar, so take note, we're dealing with the calendar of Julius Caesar now, not the modern calendar. In the calendar of Julius Caesar, the sun sun enters the sign of the twins on May 19th. So there we are. There we are. That's the vernal or spring equinox. Now do you see why Castor and Pollux are said to preside over the adjudication of equity? Well, at the equinoxes, 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of night for everybody. That's justice. That is equal equity. That's fairness. Right? It's fair. Everybody gets 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night, to do whatever it is you want to do. What's more fair than that? I tell you what, is it unfair, let's say for Joe Schmo, to get only 3 hours of daylight and then everybody else gets 12? That's not fair, is it? No, because not only does he have only 3 hours of daylight, but all of that nighttime hours, he's got to deal with all the problems that you got to deal with at night. A lot of women can relate to that, right? Nighttime can be very stressful. A lot of bad things can happen at night, let alone it gets cold at night. Okay, so that's not fair. But what is fair is 12 hours for everybody, of day and night, regardless of what your religion is, regardless of how much fiat you got, regardless of how many followers you got on social media, right? Regardless of how many connections you got in government. Regardless of how much you claim you love Jesus. Regardless of the adultery and the fornication you committed last night. You still got 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night, regardless of who you robbed, or regardless of who robbed you. You still got 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night. And hence, the scripture says that the deity makes his sun shine on the righteous and the unrighteous. Y'all got ears to hear what the Spirit just said to you? Meaning, do you have the understanding? You understand what that means? If you don't understand it, you are still brainwashed by religion. If you feel irritated, that's your cognitive dissonance kicking in. Okay, it's a sign for you that's telling you this goes against your deepest held beliefs. So understand why you feel irritated and angry. Don't run. Stay and face this foe so you can overcome this foe. Remove that distortion from your self-image. Don't run. Don't be scared. Manage it and overcome it. Okay? Remember, the goal is to is to face these foes, overcome them, realize your strength, adopt the new behavior, remove that distortion to your self-image so that you become closer to your true self that exists outside of your fleshly body, that is timeless, that is boundless, that has no limitation, that always was and always will be the Alpha and the Omega. Brandon writes, ha ha ha, don't be scared. That's right. That's right. Islam and Shalawama, Brandon. Okay, now remember, that's mastery. You are moving toward mastery. You're transmuting, okay? And the more you do it, the more cosmic habit force will kick in. Brandon writes Shalawama. Okay, but it takes effort, self-control, and a sincere desire to be yourself. Now, do y'all see why great men like the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, be yourself? Be yourself. But first you got to learn who you is. Because this might be news to many of you. You are not who you think you are. If you put two and two together from the discussion, if you've been here since I began, this notion, this identity that you have of yourself is not who you are. You've been conditioned. You've been indoctrinated away from nature, away from who you are, into religion and fake science. Again, your true self exists outside of your fleshly body. That's the great I am. I be, I exist. Think about this, y'all. Think about this. I am. I be. I have no beginning. I have no end. I do not change. This is the masculine mental energy. Now let's look at the Tetragrammaton. Strong's number H1960. Look it up. I be, I am, I exist. That's the etymological meaning of it. Now if you want to go into the actual, let me repeat that. That's the etymological meaning of the root word that forms the Tetragrammaton. If I remember correctly, Strong's number H 3068, 3068. If you look that up, you'll get the Tetragrammaton. Okay? If you follow that out, you'll get the Adonai, the Adonai, the Adon. You follow that out, that'll take you to the Tetragrammaton is synonymous or is a symbolical name for Baal or Baali. But what's my point? Go to Exodus chapter 3, maybe verse 12 through 14. I don't remember. But y'all know what I'm talking about. Where it's alleged that the deity gives Moses its name. He says, I am that I am. Right? Which is rendered in English. No, let me, I want to say it differently. Some people call that deity Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahoo, Jehovah. There's about 26 or 20 different, or 29, 26 to 29 different pronunciations of that deity. Others call that deity Ahaya. They call that deity Ahaya. We're still dealing with the Tetragrammaton. What's my point here? When you look at the doctrine associated with this deity, it's going to tell you, the Bible commentators will tell you, your religious leaders in Christianity or the Hebrew Israelites will tell you that I am becomes whatever it needs to be to save its people. Let me say it again. I am becomes whatever it needs to be to save its people. Can y'all put two and two together? What does it mean? Do y'all see mental gender all over that? Do y'all see it? Masculine mental energy, I am, I be, I exist. That's the Father. The Alpha and Omega has no beginning, has no end. Correlated to Strong's number H1960. The great I am. That's the silent witness against you or for you. That's the silent observer, watching everything you do. Well, it makes total sense, right? Because it's you. That's your frequency. That's your frequency of the all that your fleshly body is tuned in, along with your feminine masculine energy. Just like you got your own phone number, right? And then the feminine mental energy, that creative force, the be, not the be, I'm sorry, the becoming, the me. See, me is always changing. Me as in mine, my likes, my dislikes, my fears, my aspirations, my goals. That's always changing. That's feminine mental energy. All right? So do y'all see? And then, oh, what about the sun? What about the sun? Well, guess what? We are all what? Sons. Some of us have a womb, others don't. We're all sons of the Most High. Now, Son, S-O-N, and Sun, S-U-N, the same word, different spelling. Okay, in English, they put the U in there. I'm sorry, they put the O in there, so you would not discover that you are a S-U-N sun, you are a star. But guess what? Jesus is a star, the sun, the S-U-N sun. So all of us have a equivalent of a sun, an S-U-N sun in us that produces heat in the same way the sun, the disk in the sky produces heat, and it facilitates life on earth. The same way that heat or that smaller energy source, that S-U-N sun within us facilitates life, facilitates metabolism, okay? Facilitates the growth of the production of the ongoing or next generation. There's your sun. See, you're the sun. Christ made a conscious decision to follow the Most High's instructions. And so can you. So now you have the Father and the Son, which is you, the decisions you make, what you do, and the Holy Spirit. All of that is inside of you. That's you. You are the Trinity. So that whole Tetragrammaton thing is a remix of natural phenomena. And not just in Christianity, but across all religions. You find the Trinity remixed with Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Y'all know the Father, the Mother, and by the way, Isis is Mary, Virgo. The Father, the Mother, and the Holy Spirit. Right? You'll find it across the religions. That's you. Anyway, that's another story. But let's keep going. We're talking about justice. Justice. Courts of law. Do y'all see the constitutional principles here? Constitutions governing how men and women interact with each other, within a nation and between nations. These also apply to treaties. Commerce. Okay, y'all? So back, we're dealing with the calendar of Julius Caesar. So in the calendar of Julius Caesar, the S-U-N sun enters the sign of the twins on May 19th, which would bring him, that's the sun, the S-U-N sun, in the star of Pollux on June 16th. Y'all got that? So the sun On May 19th is in Aries. And then June 16th, from what I can see right now, it's at the summer solstice. But let's see, because I don't know. Now, the Hebrew name of the month of June is Thomas. That would be the Apostle Thomas, right? The Hebrew name for the month of June is Thomas, of whom we are 3 times told in the Gospel of St. John. Okay, so the Apostle John in his Gospel, the Gospel of John, says something about Thomas 3 times. What is it? That Thomas was also called Didymus. So John writes 3 times that the Apostle Thomas is also called Didymus. Make a mental note of that. Literally signifying a twin. Now y'all tell me, is that a coincidence? Is that a coincidence? Aries rising in the east, rising above the horizon in the east. Virgo setting in the west, and Pollux right at the zenith. Okay? On May 19th, the sun enters in, passes through, let's say enters into Aries, is rising in the east, and then by June 16th, the sun is at the zenith. And Thomas, according to the Apostle John, he said it 3 times, is also named Didymus, and Didymus means twins. Castor and Pollux are twins, and their position is at the zenith in June. So the 2 twins are at the zenith in June. June in Hebrew is the name Thomas. Thomas is Didymus, which means twins. Is that a coincidence? Is that a coincidence? Let's continue. That word Didymus literally signifying a twin. And Thomas, one of the 12, that's one of the 12 apostles, which is called Didymus in the gospel allegory, in the gospel fairy tale, is calling for evidence of the resurrection of Christ. Did you catch that? Thomas is a twin. Pollux is the star. Remember, there's Castor and Pollux, they're twins. Pollux is in the position or right above the zenith. Castor and Pollux are concerned, again, with adjudication of equity in all courts of law. Didymus is a twin, not both twins, a twin. It is Thomas who is called Didymus, who has to be Pollux, right? We're talking about June, equity. Well, let's not even talk about Pollux. Thomas is Didymus. That's Castor and Pollux, who are in charge of executing justice. And it is Thomas who demands evidence, who demands to stick his finger into the womb of Christ, who alleged that he was resurrected. Thomas said, "Show me the evidence." Why did he say, "Show me the evidence"? Well, because Castor and Pollux, the twins, are in charge of executing justice, of equity in all courts of law. Now, this Christ figure alleges or is alleged to be the Savior of the world, right? depending on your doctrine. The Hebrew Israelites will say, well, most Hebrew Israelites will say, no, he's only saving Hebrew Israelites. There's a couple Hebrew Israelites, almost all Christians will say, no, he's the savior of the world. Yes, like Epidemius. Okay? But you just can't say that without evidence. Prove it. Prove it. See, Thomas may have seen Jesus run away. Thomas may have known that Jesus was not hung up on that cross or on that torture stake or as strange fruit. Thomas may have known, or he may have heard about it. He may have heard that it was most likely Simon the Cyrenian who hung up there on that cross, because Christ made his escape. He ran away. Let an innocent man pay with his life. Coward. Or, if not coward, what? If not coward, what? Set up. See, remember the duplicity. The duplicity. Not just the duplicity in language, but the duplicity in deed. Why? To deceive, intentional deception. Also teaching other members, secret society members, how to deceive, not just in word, but in action. See, lessons in how to deceive people. This is Gemini. I'm sorry, not Gemini, but Pisces, the fish. Dualism, intentional deception, through word, through deed. Y'all remember? Okay, so these secret society members learn how to save themselves by making somebody else pay for their crime or pay for their debt or get punished instead of them. Lesson in deception. Okay, y'all? Now, Thomas, being interested in law, says, prove it. What's the lesson for us in this? Well, Christ is saying that he's the Son of God and he has authority over you. But Thomas said, prove it. So when you walk into a corporate venue calling it themselves a court, and you see the worshiper of the Black Prince wearing a black robe in honor of Zoroaster, claiming to have authority or jurisdiction over you. Follow the example of the Apostle Thomas, who said, prove it. Prove you have jurisdiction. Show me your delegation of authority from the Congress. Prove it. See, this is justice. This is justice. See, the Christ, let me show y'all. This is the summer solstice. See, the summer solstice, June 21, 24, somewhere around there, when the sun is in this position, that's the Christ. Put two and two together, everything we've been talking about. Demand that worshiper of Zoroaster, that worshiper of Saturn in that black robe, that magician, that magi, magician how? In words and in writing. Okay, the theater that you're in when you walk in that venue, demand he, she, it to produce that delegation of authority. Be the Christ. Now remember, the Christ is a true master. And that's your birthright. Okay? The delegation of authority demanded. Okay? If you know your nationality, you can stand on what? Diversity of citizenship. And we are one of the people, the posterity, the Moors, sprung from the soil. No religious stuff. Nature and natural law. The rightful heir who is competent to manage his estate and to take it. Reversion of estate. And to execute the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States of North America and the Al-Moroccan Empire. That's due process of law, y'all. Both of those documents that I just mentioned are based in natural law. That's the Most High's commandments. But is your self-image distorted? Will you cower out because you don't even much know who you is? When they start putting pressure on you, when they put the screws to you, try to make you afraid, what's that whole process about? Where they want to overpower your masculine mental energy. Remember, masculine mental energy, that's nationality, amongst other things. See, who am I? I'm my mother's son. Well, who's my mother? My mother is her mother's son with a womb. You take that down, you take that back as far back as you want, there's never a beginning. There never was a time when man was not. And man is the manifestation of thought. Thought is the product of mind. That's the first Hermetic law. All is mind. Manifested from the soil. That makes you the rightful heir. It's a well-known and established principle in law that land, that Moors are the substance and subject matter of the law. That's why whatever you speak can and will be used against you. And whatever you speak can get your stuff back. Can get your stuff back. Can free you. Right? Everybody see it? See the constitutional principles? See why studying yourself is so important? See why knowing who you are is so important? If you know that you're the rightful heir and you are competent, I mean, do we need to discuss it further? So Thomas gives us the example. Challenge anybody, not just a Zoroaster worshiper or a magician with a black robe on, telling you they have authority over you, but anybody who's claiming authority over you. Make them prove it. Make them prove it. Be the Christ. Be God. How about that? How does that make you feel? Psalms 82:6 says it. So Peter demanded of Christ evidence of the resurrection because he smelled something fishy. At Pisces, he smelled something fishy. He just didn't believe what Christ said just because he said it and just because he claimed to be the Son of God. He said, no, I need to fill those wounds. You need to show me evidence. All right? Show me evidence that you have the authority that you say you have. Show me evidence that you really were resurrected. Because I heard or I saw somebody who looked like Simon the Cyrenian up there on that cross. And when he got up there on that cross, he punked out. He didn't want to be there. He was talking differently than the way you were talking prior to that event. Yeah, and people are saying you bounced, you ran. Show me the evidence. Page 107. And insisting on having proof, not mere hearsay testimony, not the magistrate, the magician, or whoever he, she, it might be. Not just them telling you, not just you reading their name tag, not just you looking at the sign on the building, not just you walking in the building, and you're seeing the stage is set in what looks to be like a court in your mind, based upon what you were taught a court looks like. And y'all know this, that when you look in the Black's Law Dictionary, that's not a court. It's all imagery, theater that they put in your mind, just like in the Wizard of Oz. I challenge y'all, for those of you who are not aware of what I'm talking about, I challenge you to look in a law dictionary, let's say Black's Law Dictionary, and look up the meaning of a court. Guess what? The court is you. The court is the morgue. The court is the morgue. Who is royal? And those who follow him or who are with him. And the court is wherever you are. But don't believe me, look it up. Now, so the Apostle Thomas demanded evidence, he demanded proof, show it. Don't sit here and tell me. I don't care that you got on a black robe or $1,000 suit. I don't care what this facility looks like that we're in. Prove it, show it. Right? Constitution that our ancestors put together says that anybody who claims authority, claims to be a court, need to show or need to have a delegation of authority. All right? So I don't want to hear what you got to say. You can save your threats. I don't care about that. I know who I am. See, strong, masculine, mental energy. I'm not scared of you. You can huff and puff and all of this. You can lock me up. But what am I going to do? I'm going to follow the instructions of my ancient foremothers and forefathers. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Right? It's all about our inheritance, our estate. And they want to rob you from it. I'm going to follow our principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I'm not going to harm myself or anybody else. I'm not going to corrupt the blood of the covenant. Yamil Kalajaya Rodriguez writes, okay, write it in English. I don't speak Spanish. If you write it, I'll yeah, if you can, write it in English, okay? But do you all see the point? You see the point? So you stay in honor at all costs and at all times. Okay, all right. Stay in honor at all costs and at all times. Okay? So we hold them, he, she, it, to their obligation, which is the Constitution and the treaty, y'all, right? And that's right there in your gospel. Now let's continue. Going back to Thomas. Didymus Thomas demanded evidence of the resurrection of Christ and insisted on having proof, not mere hearsay testimony. I don't care who you is, who you claim to be. Empress Roro writes, right, exemplifies the physical analogy which represents the twins of May and June as presiding over the administration of justice. Who on the earth plane presides over the administration of justice? It is we Moors. Yes, we Moors. We are a justice. We speak justice. Now do y'all see why the punishment is so heavy, so extreme, when we don't follow the Most High's commandments, when we're not out here speaking justice? Because the whole system falls apart. Y'all hear it? You heard? So we must execute justice. And that all begins with learning who you are, declaring your nationality, right? You need to learn what our principles are. You need to change your evil, wicked, dirty, rotten ways. You need to remove those distortions, those bad habits from your self-image, from your paradigm or mindset, from your belief system, from your behavior. You need to face your foes. And as you face your foes, you gain more confidence in yourself, your ability, your capacities, your faculties, and you move closer to being what? The great I am, the Father that exists outside of the body. Y'all hear me? And through this process, you learn how to be peaceful. Whereas in the past, you would have not been so peaceful. You need to learn how to do what? Fight civically. That's the point. You need to learn how to fight civically, not physically. You need to learn how to fight and how to execute power with your mind. Huh? Now when y'all study the Hermetic laws, when y'all study the Kabbalah, when you start studying the Silva method, now they're going to tell you, don't use this to harm anybody. And I agree with that. Because the natural law says don't harm anybody. But it does not say take an ASS whooping. And you haven't harmed anyone. It doesn't say be a punk, be a coward. You have a right to self-defense. You got a right to bear arms. And I'm speaking from experience. So you have a right, a duty to execute justice. And I've done it before with great success. That's right. I will visit you. I'll visit you in your dream or during the day. That's right. And I'll make sure that you know that when somebody was but is no more, or as your health starts to fail, as you start to find it hard to breathe, as you notice that you can't sleep or concentrate, I make it known that it's Dr. Yasapa who's visiting you. Y'all understand what I'm saying to you? What to do? What to do? How to do it? I'm not telling you something that I've never done. I'm telling you what I practice. So I'll come see you. Don't worry about it. I'll see you. I'll see you. Okay? I will see you. And you will feel me. And as you experience that pain, that shortness of breath, as people who were but are not start to fall off from around you, and you start thinking of me, and you start noticing that every time that happens, every time you get that pain, that excruciating pain, every time something goes wrong in your life, or you get that pain, my name comes up. A memory of me comes up. Now, what do you think that person is going to do? In most cases. And if they don't do it, well, they leave the earth plane earlier than what they would have. That's how I get down. All right? So I'm telling you how to execute justice. And that's not harming anyone. That's called self-defense. And it works. And put two and two together, that might give you an idea as to why, according to Deuteronomy 28, we have enemies, and why these enemies don't want you to be able to use your mind. Huh? Y'all heard? Now let's continue. Page 107. Cicero makes a noble appeal to their divinity in their images, standing then before his eyes in the Praetorium, while delivering its seventh oration against Varus. Okay, I'm going to skip down to the English part, y'all. I'm not going to try to read what appears to be Greek or Latin. I don't know. Here's the English. Ye, of all forensic matters, of greatest counsels, of laws. Now, y'all know laws are physical and consciousness laws. Laws that govern consciousness and the physical universe. Laws and judgments, arbiters and witnesses, Castor and Pollux. So there you are. Castor and Pollux. Forensic matters. Forensic evidence, right? Evidence. Counsels. Laws, judgments, arbiters, witnesses. So indeed, we hear that this Cicero is talking about none other than Castor and Pollux presiding over the administration of equity. Y'all make the connection. This is connected to what? The physical universe. The position of Aries rising in the east, Virgo setting in the west, and Pollux directly above the zenith, or directly at the zenith, at the meridian. Y'all got it? Castor and Pollux. So this is the natural phenomena that has been remixed into abstract concepts of justice. All right? And then stories have been created In mythology, or who knows, maybe Castor and Pollux were Nephilim, were Titans, Nephilim, or Raphaim, who said that they are the stars Castor and Pollux. I mean, we don't know how it goes, right? But we do see the record here. So let's continue. We were not there. But let me state it differently. In this dispensation of time, we, as in this fleshly body, were not there. Okay? All right, now let's continue. So here we are again. We're going to continue from Castor and Pollux. Placed in the most renowned place in the Praetorium. And thee, O Sirius, if I remember correctly, Sirius is Virgo. Yes. So page 106, the great star, Spica Virginis, in the hand of Themis, the goddess of justice, holding the scales of September, or Ceres, the goddess of corn, or Miriam, or the Virgin Mary, for they are all but different names for one and the self-same constellation that is setting in the west. Okay, so Virgo. All right, y'all? And thee, O Ceres, or Virgo, and Bacchus, that is to say, Mary and Jesus. So there we are, because Jesus is Bacchus, right? The Son, S-U-N, Son. All right. From whom the beginning of life and food, of laws and manners, and examples of gentleness and humanity. So what I would like for everyone to do, whenever you come across this word humanity, think Han Uman. Han Uman. Okay, so if you remove the A-N, so H-A-N-U-M-A-N, remove that first A-N, you get human. So I would like everyone to be aware that human is Han Uman, a condensed spelling of Han Uman, which is, Han Uman is a half man, half monkey. In law, a human is a monster. Y'all go look in the law dictionary. Bouvier's or Black's or any good law dictionary. A human is a monster who although born from a woman, cannot inherit land. So do y'all see, even though our ancestors who created the hybrid, what they did was an extreme violation of natural law and of nature, a disrespect for nature. At least they did have the common sense to create a creature that could not inherit land. All right? Otherwise, we'd be screwed, really screwed. So in a terrible situation, we can at least be grateful of that. The human cannot inherit land. You can correlate that with Jacob and Esau. Right? Jacob and Esau, born from the same mother, but two different manner of people, two different genomes. One is descendable, one is not. Esau is not descendable. Two different nations. So that is abnormal, right? That's not the case. But this story is telling us about the creation of the hybrid from the egg of a Moabite woman and the sperm of a chimpanzee, the black one, the most aggressive, violent one. Okay, y'all? And of course, Esau had no land of his own. By the time Esau came out, all of the land grants were given away. So he had no estate. He doesn't have a trust agreement with the Most High. He has nothing. So the hybrid has nothing. So anything they do, they have to take. Okay? And then they got to put you to sleep psychologically. Correlate this with Genesis chapter 1. The commission. Make your correlation, the commission of the created creature, the kind of a man, mankind. Okay? And in Genesis chapter 1, the male and female, and take note that male and female are designations for animals. Men and women are masculine and feminine, reflecting our cosmic origin, masculine mental energy. There's masculine mental energy and feminine mental energy. Animals are male and female. All right? So in Genesis chapter 1, the male and female created creature, the human, the Han Uman, were created at the same time. In Genesis chapter 2, they're not created at the same time. So make your correlations. Go back and watch the video I did. It's called A Critical Analysis of Genesis chapter 1 and 2, something like that. The first 2 hours are two Hebrew Israelite Christians given the typical Christian explanation of Genesis chapter 1 and 2. So if y'all want to hear that, that lasts for approximately 2 hours and 4 minutes. And then after that, at about 2 hours and 4 minutes, I come in and I give you the etymological presentation of the information. Okay? Now let's continue. So in many cases, or in some cases, you can replace human with man. It depends on the context, okay? But be aware of it. All right? And examples of gentleness and humanity, Han Uman, or man, are said to have been given and distributed to men and cities. Okay, y'all? Let me catch my breath. I've been talking a lot. All right. Thus we find that they are at close, joined with Ceres and Libra. Okay, y'all see that? Libra is the scales. Okay, so in modern astrology, Libra was separated from Virgo. I believe that's how it goes. Okay, and spoken of as the civilizers of the world. So law and justice civilized the world, okay? But their particular province was law and judicature. Now that quote comes from Bryant, volume 2, page 161. Quote unquote, the name Castor seems to be a compound of Ka, Aster, the temple or place of Aster. Ka, Aster, see, there's your radical Ka, Aster, two radicals. Ka, Aster was by the Greeks abbreviated or condensed, consolidated into Castor. That's another quote from Bryant. Of course, why would they do that, y'all? To hide it from you. See, if you start to learn this stuff, you start to learn who you are. Take a look here. Okay, I'm going to let this sit here for 1 second. Y'all pause the video on the rewind and watch this, and read it rather. Now, isn't it interesting? Paul was a lawyer, right? Paul was said to be an outstanding lawyer. Castor and Pollux preside over law and the adjudication of justice. Paul is a lawyer. Tell me that that's a coincidence. Pol, P-O-L-L-U-X, abbreviated Pol, P-O-L, Paul, P-A-U-L. So they just changed the O to another vowel, or let's say changed it to a U and added an A, or changed the O to an A and added a U, Paul. The same tricks they always play with vowels. All right, yo? And then they created a whole new word from those two radicals. The Greeks did. Hence, so many names of towns in Britain among the Britons of Phoenician extraction. So y'all know the Phoenicians, these would be Moors, M-O-O-R-S. Bryant, volume 6, page 158. So many towns in Britain among the Britons of Phoenician extract. So in other words, the Phoenicians, Moors, had a lot of towns whose names are a variation of Castor. So these are, what are we talking about? Dirty Moors, agents or COINTELPRO agents. I'm using modern terminology. Right, y'all? Traitors, treasonous, Moors, dirty Moors. The Brotherhood of Saturn, worshippers of Zoroasters, the Dark Prince. All right? Those practicing Babylonian magic, black negative magic, right? Listen to the name of these towns that our ancestors set up. This is coming from Bryant, volume 6, page 158. So the name of these towns ending in cester, so the suffix is cester, as in Alcester, Chester, Manchester, Dorchester, Godmanchester, Ilchester, Lancaster, Leicester, Gloucester, Rochester, Chichester, Cirencester, Worcester, all of them distinguished by remains of cathedrals. So all of these cities that we just named that have cester, which is a variation of Castor, have cathedrals in them, dedicated to the great god Castor. All of these cities have cathedrals dedicated to the great god Castor, as in Castor and Pollux, i.e. the S-U-N, Sun, and Gemini, as that of London. Now y'all know London is the name of a god, right? As in London, I'm sorry, let me repeat that. As that of London is to his brother Pole. So we have the church called St. Paul, which is the church dedicated to Pole, as in Pollux. Remember we talked about the description of the Apostle Paul not matching the description of Pole in all of the art, the idols, you know, concrete, marble, granite, paintings, whatever. That God is masculine, manly, a warrior, whereas Paul is said to be an old pot-bellied man who walked funny. Let's continue. Okay, so it says here, it says, all of them distinguished by the remains of cathedrals dedicated to the great god Castor. Cester is a variation of Castor. The Sun in Gemini, as that of London is to his brother Pole. Okay, so all of those cities are related to Castor. They have cathedrals to the great god Castor, and London has the cathedral dedicated to Paul, which is Paul. Today is Paul's Cathedral, or St. Paul's Church, all right? Who is one and the self-same deity. As London itself was called, the ancient Saxons London Castor, and abbreviated as so long a word would necessarily be that is to be abbreviated for the convenience of ordinary utterance, as our St. John Street is called St. John Street, Sinjun Street. So here you see the consolidation of these words, which in fact just hides their true origin. Let me go back to London. I want to show y'all, in case y'all missed it, that London is actually the name of a god. Now all of this y'all should, I hope you remember that this has to do, everything we've been talking about has to do with the conversion of Paul. When he falls off the horse, he sees the bright light, right? And then JC says to him, "What, Paul, or Saul, why are you persecuting me?" That's what this is all about. Give me 1 second. So if y'all don't remember, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch this, okay? Watch the last 2-3 videos, maybe 4 videos that I've done. Give me 1 second. Oh, man. Give me 1 second. Oh, okay, so page 120. No, I'm sorry, page 100. The second paragraph. Okay? You'll see that London is in fact L on dawn. The radicals L on dawn. Okay, and this has to do with the temples. You will believe me too when I instruct you that Areopagus, that hill of Mars, the temple, is the lawyer's house, situate at the west end of the city of El on Don, EL hyphen on ON hyphen DON, El on Don. That is, or which means El, the SUN sun, on ON, the being, and then Don, or Don, DON, the Lord, or Adonis. You can correlate Adonis with Adonai, or Adon and Adonai. All right? Y'all got it? Or Lord, capital Lord, the being, the fire. The Lord, the being, the fire. How about simply the SUN sun, the sun? El on dawn, losing the significancy of those 3 Phoenician words. Let me repeat that. Losing the significancy, the importance of those 3 Phoenician words, Phoenician Hebrew, Ancient Ibaryath, Paleo Hebrew, distinguished from Biblical Hebrew, which is fake, distinguished from modern Hebrew. All of these things were made up, all right? And by the way, I won't do it. I won't give you my opinion. I've given it before, but I won't say anything about it. All right? So here we're dealing with Phoenician Hebrew words, Ancient Ibaryath, Paleo Hebrew. All right, y'all? Which shows its original meaning in the shortened utterance, London, London. London. Shortened utterance means what? Consolidated, condensed. They condensed it down to London. Why? So that you wouldn't know that we're talking about astrology. El on Don. Being done is the Lord. Oh, wow. You know what, y'all? I don't know how much y'all... Empress Roro, can I ask you, was there a break in the connection? I just got a notification that I'm live. Can someone, Jamil, anybody, can someone let me know whether or not the stream, Brandon, can anybody let me know whether or not the stream was broken? I just got a notification that I'm live. All right. On the highest spot of the ground. On the highest spot of ground. Notice, y'all. Okay, Empress Rower writes no break. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. On the highest spot of ground, that would make sense. Why? Because pole is at the zenith, the highest part, the highest spot in the north that the sun travels. On the highest spot of the ground, in which city those ancient Phoenician, I would say Moorish settlers in Britain, but it wasn't Britain, was it, y'all? It was Albion. Empress Roro writes, animal, in law, all animal life other than man, an inferior or irrational sentiment, being generally through, hold on, let me see, being generally through necessarily possessed of the power of locomotion and etymology, comprehending all living creatures, whether brutish or human. And then it says here 4 a.m. J. Check it out in a law dictionary, Black's Law, or Google search it. Google search it. I don't remember the one I got it from last. But you'll see that that a human is a monster. All right? A human is a monster that cannot inherit land. Okay, y'all. So let's continue. So that information about London is on page 100. So London, and Ballantyne. Thanks, Empress Rowe. Ballantyne's 1930 Law Dictionary. Thank you so much. That's where y'all can get that citation. So both London and all of those other cities have churches, a church or a church dedicated to the gods Polax and Castor. All right? That's the point. And everybody has seen the demonstration of how these words are created from radicals that were combined into one word and then consolidated. And they play around with the vowels. So we see the technique, right? We're cracking the code. We are cracking the code. We see the technique very clearly that they use. So this is the gospel buster. Etymology and philology. That would include what? Astronomy, astrology, and then history. Okay, especially history involving what? Mythology. And what? Architecture. These churches, cathedrals. And of course, everybody knows that the megalithic structures were not churches in the beginning, right? The churches the religious people took them over. The Catholics took them over. And so those great universities, those great centers of learning, and they probably were producing free electricity too, were taken over. And modified and reused for a different purpose or repurposed, right? Okay, now let's continue. The real origin and significance of the whole word London caster, as I have explained so often, that no original word could ever have consisted of more than one syllable. So what he's talking about, he's going way back to the time when words were based off of one radical, which had one syllable, like ah or ba. Okay? If y'all want to know more about radicals or word morphology, the topic he's talking about now, subscribe to my 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. The link is in the description area of this video, y'all. You really need to learn it. Absolutely. There's no way around this, y'all. You need to self-educate. So I've made it much easier for you. It's like $10 a month and there's no contract. All right? And by the way, whether or not you take action, that's a sign or indication for yourself for where you are mentally. Okay? Whether you want your inheritance back, whether you want to, and by the way, yes, you should be motivated by reclaiming, getting your inheritance back, getting your estate back, living a comfortable life, even a lavish life, because that's the blessings. Don't take my word for it. Ro, thank you. Valentine's 1930 Law Dictionary. Z, monster. A human being by birth, but in some part resembling a lower animal. There's your, what is that, y'all? That's your Neanderthal. That's the caveman. A monster hath no inheritable blood. Y'all see it? And cannot be heir to any land, albeit brought forth in marriage. Valentine's Law Dictionary, 1930, page 830. Empress Ro writes, the other was hijacked. Most definitely. See, once we know this stuff, we know who's who. We know what our inheritance is, what our trust, estate, and inheritance is, and what theirs is, which is nothing. And now we understand why they brought maritime admiralty law onto the land. Why Christianity is nothing more than maritime admiralty, Catholic canon, corporate policy brought on the land. We understand these metaphors and analogies with ships and commerce. We understand that everything that they do is like a play. It's theater because they have no inheritance. We understand why they do all of these psychic attacks. Telling you you're Negro, black, colored, Indian, Latino. What are all of these brands that they use, y'all? Well, that's what it's for. To make sure you have weak, masculine, mental energy. You know nothing about your nationality. You know nothing about your bloodline, which gives them easy access to control you, to socially engineer you into a black, a nigger. Y'all heard me? Through their various forms of media, animal husbandry in the schools, in the workplace, condition you to think and believe that you need to work to get whatever it is you want. Why? Because they're functioning out of what? The covenant of work. That would be the spring equinox, Aries. That's not our inheritance. Well, they don't even have an inheritance, right? But they're hybrid. So they need to work. That's just a logical conclusion, right? They have no inheritance, so they need to work. So what did they do? They changed places. Right, y'all? Using the feudal system. Hiding the fact that they are using the feudal system against you, that they are fulfers. And that they are turning, getting you to willfully or unknowingly or even threatening you to abandon your estate and give it to them. Y'all hear me? That's what's happening. To escheat you and to hypothecate your estate. That's what they're doing. And how is it done? By making sure that you have a weak masculine mental energy, meaning that you don't know your nationality, or that you're so afraid of not doing what the government tells you to do. And it ain't even a government. Let me rephrase that. Y'all know in the Gospels, it says that you have to submit to the superior authority. It could be a corporation. It could be somebody who got a shotgun. You need to submit to them. That's what it says. And if you don't submit, you're going against God, because God put them in place. And that anybody who doesn't submit is a criminal. Is this Ephesians chapter 6, y'all? What chapter is that? Y'all see the mental conditioning that they did? They put you in a position where you need to take the status of a stateless person, of a goyim, a bondman or a bondwoman. And they put themselves in the place of the master, the heir. Although not rightful. But guess what? If there's no competent heir and they have possession, well, they get to enjoy your estate as long as you are incompetent. As long as you are afraid. Your religion got you scared. Scared of what? Scared to die. Scared to experience any type of hardship. Scared to sacrifice anything. Why? What did they tell you? If God is with you, everything gonna go right. Everything gonna go good for you. But no, that's not how it works. You have foes and doubts, and sometimes things just happen. You get targeted. Somebody might want to make an example out of you. Why would they do that? To scare everybody else. See, your impact may be so powerful. Or maybe they're afraid. Well, I won't say that. I won't say it. But I hope y'all understand me. And so they want to scare everybody so they don't associate with you. Like they did the author of this book. Branded him as a preacher of the devil. Why? So that nobody will want to listen to him. Because those who listen to him wouldn't want to be in religion anymore. And now the preacher and the priest and the general, all of them got to go out and find another way to earn a living. It messes up their pocketbook, their bank account. Y'all see it? So they put you on the good ship Jesus, ship you off into Civiliter Mortuus, dead state, non-inheritable, and then make you think that it's godly to be there. You see how they cheated you, how they escheated you? And then they put you in a school system and teach you according to the principles of animal husbandry, which is against nature. So even from the beginning, you almost never had a chance. They destroy your self-image. In other words, they convinced you through fear and other tactics and fake education to be and to develop into somebody you're not. That's what I meant by you're not who you think you are. Anyway, I don't even know how I got off on that topic. But let me go back. Okay. Page 108. The real origin and significance of the whole word London caster, as I have explained so often, that no original word could ever have consisted of more than one syllable. No ancient word, no primitive word. All right, now y'all should, well, there's something in here that the author didn't mention, but it's in the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. The link is in the description area of the video, and it's important. Okay, so here are the syllables: el, on, done, ka, as, stir. Empress Roro writes the other. Okay, so hold on. So el means the S-U-N sun. On, O-N, means the being. Don, D-O-N, means the Lord. Ka, C-A, means the temple. A-S means the fire. Tor, T-O-R, means the hill. So the hill would be what? The zenith. The high point, right? That's pole. A-S, as means the fire, that's the sun. Ka, C-A, that's the temple. Aries is the temple, right? That we read about earlier. Okay, so I read the meaning of all of these radicals, all of these syllables, these radicals. Let's continue. Would gradually come to be absorbed into Lun, L-U-N, hyphen, Doncaster. Lun, Oncaster, Lancaster, or Caster rather, and Lancaster, which is to this day the name of London, or capital city of that great county of Lancashire. All right, y'all. This paragraph here, where my two fingers are, y'all read that, please. On the video, y'all can pause it. Let's see how close I can get it. So read that, please. Now we see how they construct these words, right? Putting together radicals. And by the way, the radicals can come from different languages. And then the spelling of the word changes over time. And they condense or consolidate or shorten the words over time. And that's how they're hiding the true meaning of the words from you. This is the power of etymology. That's why I made the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. That's why I made the free course. You know what? I would like to do that free course again. If there were people who want to do the free course. Remember, y'all, maybe 3-4 years ago, I did the free Ancient Ibaryath course. All you had to do was buy the 911 Ancient Ibaryath book, the purple book. And we did like 4 weeks or 8 weeks. And we used to go like 3-4 hours. We went really long in one class, but that class was really fun. I taught everybody how to write the 10 Commandments in Ancient Ibaryath. That was what you needed to do to pass the class. It was a lot of fun. I would like to do that again. If there were enough interest, if enough scholars want to take the course, I would gladly do it again. But you have to have the book. You got to buy the book, okay? You got to buy it on zionlawschool.org so I can know who bought it. All right? Anyway, now let's continue. Next paragraph. Castor and Pollux, the two Dioscuri, were considered and spoken of as the greatest of all gods. Now, doesn't that make sense, y'all? They were spoken of as the greatest in all gods. Why? Because it's law. Law governs everything. See, before there ever was anything, there has to be law that governs how things interact, how forces, energies interact. Right, y'all? So there's got to be principles that govern that. So yes, those are great. So Castor and Pollux were considered the greatest of all the gods. Law is the greatest. Okay? There are altars still extant which are inscribed Castori et Polluci, Dies Magnus, which means to Castor and Pollux, the great gods, and in the collection of Bruder is a Greek inscripture, which in English reads, Caius, the S-O-N son of Caius, of Archania, having become a priest of the great gods, the Dioscuri Cabiri. Let me show it. We're still on page 108, scholars. Here we are, my two fingers. I'm not going to show this one long. Y'all can pause the video. Everybody should download this PDF. It's in the description area of the video. Y'all download it and print it, okay, so you can have it. It's very useful when we go through stuff like this, okay? All right. The form of swearing, aid pol, that is, per aidem Pelusis, by Paul's Cathedral. That's what it means, by Paul's Cathedral. That's by Paul's Cathedral. Indicates what was indeed the fact, that there was something very remarkable in the size and magnitude of Paul's Cathedral. Now that's St. Paul's Church. An analogy still preserved in the relative size of Paul's Cathedral continued to this day under the variously sounded but self-same meaning name of St. Paul's Cathedral. All right, y'all? The greatest gods seemed naturally to require the greatest churches. So what did they do? Those structures obviously existed before there ever was a Christianity, before there ever was a remix of natural phenomena such as stars and how they move into personifications of deities that have a artificial biographical story or a history. Those structures, those buildings existed before then. So what did they do? They just matched up the biggest available temples at that time, or structures, let's call them universities or centers of learning. They matched them up with the greatest of their gods. So the greatest god got the biggest and most magnificent temple available at that time. All right? And so on and so forth. That's what they did. Okay, now let's continue. And it was not a greater liberty in language to change the name of them. All right? So they just changed the name of the learning center or university. Okay? Then, okay, so there was not a greater liberty in language to change the name of the church than to change the name of the deity to whom it was dedicated. So now, in other words, instead of it being dedicated to Pol, the great god Pol or Polax, well, they changed that to St. Paul. Right? That's what he's saying here. And Pol's cathedral, the common utterance for the quote-unquote the temple of Polax, so it was called the temple of Polax, became gradually pronounced St. Paul's Cathedral. Now, of course, they did that consciously, right? They did it consciously over time. Okay, so they created the situation where people would forget its original pronunciation and spelling, and now everybody calls it St. Paul. And when their needs change, they'll do the same thing again. All right, without any note or date. So they didn't make a note or date as to when they changed it from the temple. Let me say this again. So Pol's Cathedral or the Temple of Polis, they didn't write the date. At least they didn't make it publicly known, where they changed it from that to St. Paul's Cathedral or St. Paul's Church. There's no public record of it. Without any note or date or trace of human or trace of Han-Uman observance, when and how the change took place. So in other words, what conditions, what were the social, political, or needs that the church had or that existed in larger society that they made them change? Well, I pretty much know what it is. They wanted everybody to think that these deities were actual people and had a history, right? That's why they did it, in my opinion. And for these reasons serves, which I think may pass for a pretty good reason, that there has really never been any change at all, and it is, to all intents and purposes, the Temple of Polax still. Now, I agree with him. It's still the Temple of Polax. It's still Pol's or Polax Cathedral. That is the temple of the S-U-N, Sun, considered and worshipped as in Polax, the more easterly and the brighter of the twins of May. So the twins of May, of course, is Gemini. So Polax is the twins of, are the Polax and Castor are the twins of Gemini. And Polax is located more toward the east than its Castor. So that means that Polax being at the right above the zenith, Polax would be more close or on the same side as Aries. And then Castor would be on the same side as what? Virgo, because Virgo is setting in the west. Y'all got it? And by the way, y'all, it would be much easier to understand, to visualize if we had images. So if anybody wants the images, feel free to make a donation, paypal.me at paypal.me/Zion Law School. Okay, send the donation in. If there's support, I'll use the donations to pay a professional artist to create these images so we can all see them, okay? Now let's continue. So Polax is also the brighter of the two stars, okay? Polax is brighter than Castor. Okay, so it was a bishop's see, S-E-E, for 3 centuries before the religion of this country acquired the name of Christianity. That's interesting. Oh, yeah, I gotta catch my breath. I'm tired. You know what, y'all? Let's stop here. Let's pick back up on this paragraph. I'm tired and I want to eat. Okay? So, Empress Roro, thank you for getting the Valentine's Law Dictionary 1930 definition for human. I think that adds a lot to the quality of this video. Thanks everybody else for commenting, for liking the video, y'all. Thanks for spending time with me right now today. Much appreciated. And special thanks to everyone who is supporting my work, especially my project to write the Book of the Law in Ancient Ibaryath and Modern English to show the etymological meanings, so you'll be able to do what we're doing right now with the radicals. Okay, so we'll be able to pull the skirt off of these fake meanings and definitions of words and these misleading, even outright lies that are written in our Bibles that's got us all messed up in the head, right? And in that, of course, I'm going to show the astronomy, astrology, astrotheology. I'm going to show the constitutional principles, the Hermetic laws, and the constitutional principles. All right? So all of that will be there. Okay? So anyway, Islam to all the Moors and Shalom. I'll see y'all in 12 to 24 hours.